Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special August 19th edition of ADP Chasing. We've got tons of preseason news to discuss. Caleb Williams, is he generational? Keenan Allen, is he from the silent generation? Chiefs wide receivers just moving chaotically throughout the ADPs. Sam Darnold's a starter now. Tons of stuff to break down. We have a special guest, Rotopat, Pat Doherty of Roto Football, to help us break it all down. Let's do it.
ADP chasing is for when you watch ship chasing, you go, these guys are just football guys.
And the targets per outrun leagues, that's going to be really nice.
Actually, back in if it's Ashane.
Stare into our crystal ball. Close your eyes. You know, all your entries are going to lose anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is a Deuce Vaughn show.
It's anti-cabal. It's anti the best ball thought leaders. I'm obviously lying to some degree because, like, I have a lot of both of these guys.
It's the most disgusting pick you can make. But, man. Welcome, everyone. Pat, thanks for joining us today. I'm really happy I didn't butcher your name in the cold open, or maybe I did. What's your take on pronunciation there?
You do the take. Just don't think about it. Just say it. Become one with the kind of the blackout, and act like you've never spoken faster in your life, and you will say Darty correctly.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I feel like I nailed that.
Is it Irish? Scottish?
Oh, you better believe it's Irish, folks.
Yeah.
O Dougherty. At some point, the O gets dropped. The A and the O after the D gets swapped. It just kind of depends on the generation. This is not a joke. One of my best friends.
I used to have a Z in it.
Yeah, so there you go. One of my best friends is named Patrick Doherty. And the Irish, we have a limited pool of names.
Yeah, that's true. Irish is a pretty popular one.
About 9 different ways to spell Sean, and then there's Patrick, and then a lot of different ways to stylize Darty or O'Dougherty.
Although the Irish names a big takeover. Liam, Finn, these are the most popular names in the country right now.
Finn is having a moment. Liam's been having a several decades long moment.
Yeah.
And
I want to. Finnegan was like my number one kid's name for a long time because of Finnegan's Wake, but now it's like too much. It's like no one would get the reference. They'd be like, "Oh, you just named your kid an Instagram name. Who needs that?"
Instagram name. It's a sadly real concept. Instagram name.
Yeah.
So we'll get right into it today. Lots of stuff to discuss. We had I noticed, Pete, he has a team that puts the thumbnails together. He put the Bears on the thumbnail here, and then I realized we had no Bears in the ADP risers and fallers segment, so had to artificially kind of shoehorn them in. But I wanted to have the Keenan Allen conversation first.
Well, he'll be on the fallers next week. I just took him at 75 in a slow draft.
And Roto World obviously crushing the news, but this is the most I've ever seen you guys blur about diabetes.
way too soon. Way too soon.
Is it? Mid-30s is when it happens, dude.
That's a good point.
Keenan Allen, it's a long tradition. You and I are very familiar with this, of men moving from the coast to the Midwest and immediately gaining 15 pounds. Immediately gaining 15 pounds.
And this pizza, man, it sticks to you.
Not built for this. And it's not just what you do eat, it's what you don't eat. The idea of vegetables, a bit of that's a coastal thing. Fruit, another coastal thing. Non-ultra processed food, it's a coastal thing. So we eat as Americans are supposed to eat. Is how we eat here in the Midwest and the Great Lakes region. I did talk about this in the pod that Keenan Allen moved to Chicago once.
Yeah, well, from LA too. Like LA to Chicago would be about as big of kind of a weight gain move as you would expect. So
I just spent the weekend in Chicago, and I can confirm. I mean, I left like 4 pounds heavier one weekend. Like one weekend.
It takes a toll.
It gets you. Yeah.
So it does seem realistic moving from LA to Chicago to gain some weight. The funny thing about this how this all started, it basically just started with Albert Breer just kind of like having a throwaway comment in one of his articles saying that, Keenan Allen's 230 pounds. From being in the ETR Slack, I know that.
I think I don't know. Was that vibes? Like,
no, so
it was vibes.
That's what we thought. But I know Evan Silva followed up with Breer about this, and I think what he said is that it was pitched to him by the team that this was a good thing that Keenan Allen was big. That like no other context than that.
He's
but
the power slot.
Yeah, I mean, he's training for the Will Dissly role in Shane Waldron's offense. But then you're speculating.
Sam, this is the perfect hyper niche best ball story for you because it's just hating. It's
so good.
It's
unsure if it's based on anything factual, but it is funny.
All right, I'll bring the few data points I have to this conversation, then we can kick it to our guest. 32 out of 32 teams in 11 personnel usage in the preseason. The Chicago Bears, less than 40% of their total snaps have been in 11 personnel. That's insane. That is so much 12 personnel.
Who's playing in 12? Who's playing in 12? It's Keenan. Keenan's in 12.
Oh, that's the Galaxy brain. The Keenan is he's bulking
I'm just
up.
telling you who has played in 12. It's
no, but let me extend this further. So let me bury Keenan Allen, who we famously just took in a main event about 72 hours ago. What if Keenan Allen actually stinks because they built the whole Chargers offense around him last year, and the offense was terrible and got everyone fired? And actually, the guy who just got picked 9th overall and is like a not a generational prospect, he's been 3 years wide receiver prospect, I think. Roma Dunze.
Yeah, he's not generational. He's good, but
what if it's Keenan who plays the JSN role and just gets buried?
Generational prospects usually go wide receiver 3 in their own class.
Say Keenan, Rome is a generational third receiver.
He's a
generational third. He is a generational third wide receiver.
He is a generational third receiver.
I agree
That's
with
true.
That. Yeah.
So let me bury Roma Dunze, who I have drafted repeatedly all summer and in several main events. Imagine Shane Waldron taking a first-round wide receiver and pigeonholing him into some stupid 11 personnel role and getting the least that he could possibly can out of him while he plays the veterans on the outside.
That sounds unrealistic. That hasn't happened.
That's never happened. Keenan Allen, by the way, led all wide receivers in open score last year. So I think he needs to have gotten fat because he was really good last year. I don't buy the he was a product of the offense not having any other weapons and they had to feed him and he's done. He might be done now because he's just been crushing that deep dish, but I don't think he was washed heading into this move.
I mean, maybe he crossed the injury Rubicon when he was hurt at the end of last year, and that was just the one that did him in. And when I started seeing the weight reports, the usage reports and all that, it did. So players are frequently in the NFL traded for far less than they're worth. But last March, it's oh man, I might have given up more than 1 4th rounder for Keenan.
They tried to. They floated cutting him after the 2022 season, though.
There was rumors. Chiefs fans were convinced Keenan Allen was going to be a Chief last offseason.
Yeah, and then he was really good. He was efficient, and again, he was great at getting open. So I don't know what was going on between him and the Chargers, but it just seems like that they were ready to move on before a really good season. So I'm not sure that them moving on after that season indicates anything.
Well, it's
about
not just them moving on; it's the fact the whole league knew he was available, and you get 1 4th rounder. Again, players are almost never traded.
Well, that's true.
For what they're actually, but 4th round pick.
Yeah, that
4th round picks monopoly money. Just give them 2 4th round picks.
We saw this with Amari though, right? Didn't Amari get a 6th or something stupid? Sometimes
I think that was a con. So I think that
he was on a last year. It was a very affordable deal it was one of the worst things I've ever seen the NFL do.
Well, the Cowboys. It was also the Cowboys.
Yeah. That's true.
So, yeah.
But the rest of the league, why weren't they pouncing on that? They should have. Yeah. It was a team-friendly deal. I think it was a 1-year deal that Amari was on. Anyway.
The thing that's a little bit more damning with the Amari situation is in this era of the rapidly expanding NFL cap, you could say, okay, no one gave up more than a 4th rounder for him, but you had to pay him 20. I think it's 22 million this year.
It's a lot of real dollars. It is a lot of real dollars.
It is a lot of real dollars, but there are looking at over the cap right now. Most NFL teams have over 20 million in cap space this year. It's a really weird thing where teams weren't able to spend their cap because the cap rose so rapidly. And I know teams can roll it over to the next year, so it's not like that money dies and goes away, but there are tons of teams out there that had room to pay Keenan Allen $20 million and could have sent a 3rd, 4th round pick and chose not to. So I do think it is a fair point to bring up. Other wide receivers this offseason in somewhat similar situations were traded for a lot more, like Stephon Diggs. You know, even though Keenan Allen's counting stats, it's undeniable last year. He was on pace for, I think, like 1,600 yards and 150 catches. Like, not even exaggerating. He was on pace for something absurd like that. But I think the NFL evaluators were not really fully buying like that's his talent level.
He's old. I think that clearly is his talent level.
Stephon Diggs is also old, right?
Not as old as
it's
Keenan.
Just to me a 4th round pick.
He's a couple years younger than Keenan. Isn't he?
It's like in the charade. Fourth round pick doesn't matter like at all. Like they're gonna get cut within 2 years anyway. I just felt like he could have fetched a little more, and it was a bit suspicious.
What's more likely? Keenan Allen, age 32, like smashes 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns with truly generational quarterback prospect Caleb Williams, or he slows down, approaches the target / age cliff, and generational third wide receiver prospect.
The target cliff in there.
Generational third wide receiver prospect Rome Odunze kind of starts out the year slow, but by week 8 is running 83% of the routes and is just completely dusting Keenan Allen. To me, I think the second thing is far more likely. Other opinions are available, but I now am full Rome over Keenan Slappy, and I'm fine with that.
So you mentioned the counting stats, but that's true. But like he had 2.36 yards per route run last year. That's elite. That's truly elite. So elite efficiency, elite production, and he was number 1 in open score. So like, I don't think anyone who like evaluated him and said like, oh, this guy doesn't have it anymore was wrong. He definitely did.
But that really was a terrible Chargers offense, though, right? Like, I think you have to factor in like how good.
Then shouldn't we be even more impressed by his efficiency if it was a terrible Chargers offense?
No, I think the point is that the Chargers built the entire ship out of Keenan Allen last year because they had to. Mike Williams tore his ACL, Palmer was banged up, Eckler's banged up, and it just wasn't a good off. Like, I don't know. I just thought like I don't think it's a successful way to build an offense to do what the Chargers did last year to Keenan Allen, and he's in a completely different environment this year. Like, I just don't think those stats hold that much weight.
I mean, they hold a lot of weight if the question is Keenan still good? It's not enough to say, therefore, I mean, he was wide receiver 11 in yards per route run. Like, yeah. So if you just took the stats at face value, you'd be like, oh, he's the wide receiver 1 on the Bears. He's not. He's not. Actually, DJ Moore had better yards per route run. So even by these metrics, you'd say, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like, in the 5th round, I'm still interested in him as a bet on this offense, being pretty productive. Him being a key part of this offense that's really difficult to defend. And one thing I think that might be okay for Keenan and Rome and DJ Moore is that this Gerald Everett stuff, like I don't know that the Cole Kmet is really going to be a big concern. They seem to be rotating the tight ends. I think it's probably a boost for the wide receivers if we get more Everett on the field than Kmet, because I think Kmet's probably better than Everett, but they've been playing Everett a lot in the preseason. So maybe it's a little bit more condensed to the 3 wide receivers than we were thinking it might be.
2 things there. Gerald Everett, first drop touchdown in week 2. The snaps go back to like 82 to 18 for Cole Kmet. Gerald Everett, not going to be a thing. And yeah, just listen, the heel injury for Keenan last year was the injury Rubicon. They think he can't beat nickel corners over the middle of the field now, so now they want him to post them up. And that's why he's been packing on the weight. He's going to post up every slot corner. And then Keenan always finds a way, and he will find a way.
After he posts up, does he like toss the ball back?
That's a real good question. I don't know.
Like,
Keenan Allen is
so we're basically doing the Kelvin Benjamin thesis for
except for as an over the middle of the field nickel receiver.
The reality of the situation is I was looking for anything to make me do this leap. Yes. Like I was looking for any reason to move Keenan down, and I've been given it via Ted Nguyen and Brett Coleman, the big underdog film streamer, them being like, this dude stinks. And I'm like, all right, I don't know, but hopefully, because this is what I wanted to do anyway.
JT O'Sullivan, I think the QB school guy, was also pointing it out. But yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, I think like this is a kind of funny storyline. I don't think Keenan Allen's dead by any means. Crane brings up good points of how good he was last year. It's just a question of if he's hit the cliff or not yet.
I mean, honestly, it is a question of if he's actually fat. We need to know if he's
also, though, listen, even as a 32-year-old in the NFL, Like you could lose 20 pounds in like 10 days. Like he probably has already lost a lot of weight just during training
Pat,
camp.
I don't know about those numbers.
listen.
20 pounds in 10 days.
I overstated it there, but he could lose 20. Like didn't LeGarrette Blount or not LeGarrette, excuse me, Leonard Fournette used to lose like
he
30
gained
pounds
20 pounds in 10 days.
Yeah, he would do that, but then he would lose it again. Like I don't know, you just like you like run around in like a trash bag like twice and you lose like 10 pounds. So,
I think that works. I think that works when you're 28, not so much when you're 32.
He's still 32. I mean, it's not like I don't think he's crossed the weight Rubicon quite yet at age 32.
All right. To close this out, Davis has made his stance clear, but I want both Pats on the record. If you're in some theoretical fantasy universe, you can only make one pick at wide receiver between Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze. Crane, who are you taking right now?
I'd probably take Rome. If there's no ADP, if there's no portfolios that I'm building out, I'm just getting one crack at one of these guys. I'm gonna take the exciting rookie, but
the generational third wide receiver
in his class. Mm-hmm. I do take Keenan though. I take him in the 5th. I often take Keenan and Rome. So yeah, but you got me. I'd probably take Rome.
All right, Rotopat.
I'm taking Keenan. I'm taking Rome. Keenan Williams. I can't speak. Caleb Williams is not the kind of quarterback who just like needs the security blanket. Like Justin Herbert's like, what do I do? I can only target Keenan Allen 13 times a game. Like that is not Caleb Williams. And I do worry about like Rome Odunze getting JSN'd, not just because it's Shane Waldron, but like, listen, I know that you're a first round receiver prospect, but like DJ Moore and Keenan Allen are two of the most established receivers in the league. But there's a huge difference between being the number 9 overall pick and like the number 22 overall pick that JSN was. So yeah, I'm just, and two, as a guy who tends to bet on upside over floor, I'm going with Rome over Keenan. Right. I probably was honestly even before the injury.
Yeah, that makes 4 for 4 of us there. Let's move on to
Daniel Sino. Before we move on, has the comment here. Let Keenan eat cake.
By the injury, when I said Keenan Allen injury, I meant
just
Keenan
meant him eating food,
getting large. Yes,
we're talking about it like an injury. It's not a great sign.
Yeah, just got big.
Keenan.
Can we get that in a Roto World blurb? Keenan Allen, large.
Keenan Allen, quote, very large.
I just still can't get over Albert Breer saying that it was pitched by the team that it was a good thing that Keenan Allen was 230 pounds. That one still gets me.
I don't know. I also have a bone to pick with Breer, who just like absolutely defended the Drake May not playing any preseason snaps in the first week. Like it was a great idea, and it was like so smart by the team to do this. And then shout out Tom Curran, who was just like, this is asinine. Great use of it. Just completely, he was apoplectic about the usage week 1. And sure enough, we get the usage week 2, and all of a sudden, yeah, probably not a very smart idea not to play your rookie. So anyway, I just wanted to shout that out. Shout out to Tom Curran. He was appropriately angry by that.
Well, yeah, Crane had to get the Drake May talking at some point during the podcast. He wasn't one of the risers fallers. So congrats, Crane. Let's talk here about Chiefs wide receivers. I think this has been
we've never covered this topic before.
Yeah, the number one topic for us all offseason has been Rashee Rice. We got all 3 Chiefs big 3 wide receivers popping up here on the list of risers and fallers.
Where we pick, I think we've all picked Rice as a riser. Do we have that of what ADPs we got?
I think only I have, and
really, I'm pretty sure I picked him.
Okay, well, I haven't been tracking it at all, but I
was going to track
it. But I will eventually.
You're the guy who tracks some of it.
Yeah, no, I do that the last week before the show. I have the worst process ever for tracking it. Like, I go rewatch all of our episodes one by one. And man. I might forget a couple of my bad takes when I go back and look. But my memory is that I took him, and then a week later, the second incident happened, and I was like, "Oh, I'm such an idiot," because he fell from like 60 to 80.
I think I got him at the cheaper price.
Yeah, maybe we'll look into it. Anyways, he's up 7 spots. His teammate Xavier Worthy also up half a round. They're both. I guess Rashee Rice is now in the 4th. Xavier Worthy is now at the end of the 5th. Hollywood Brown on the other side of things is down 15 spots to pick 71. I wanted to start with the Hollywood Brown side of things, and then we'll get into the risers here. I just wanted to make this like very rough injury timeline for people to visualize. He got injured on August 10th in that preseason game. The injury timeline was he's expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. It doesn't seem like something that's going to overly affect him once he returns. It's not like a lower body, high ankle sprain type injury that's going to linger. That 4 to 6 week timeline would be an early return sort of after week 1, after that Thursday night game, or a late return being like right before week 3. So I'd say like anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks of missed time probably is like the median scenario. He's fallen, I don't know, 20 spots or so in the past 10 days because of that. Start with you, Rotopat, on the Hollywood Brown side of things. Do you think that's an appropriate reaction to his injury, or sort of how do you see him shaking out in this Chiefs wide receiver room this year?
Well, I'm with Hollywood the way Davis was with Keenan Allen. Like, just give me a reason. I didn't just wanted any reason, any cover whatsoever to not draft Marquise Brown, who, the way I look at it, the way I would casually say it on my own podcast, like, yeah, he's never even been good. Like, who cares? Like, he's never been good. He's always hurt. He has been hurt a lot the past 2 years. For a guy who was a first-round pick, who's had generally really good quarterback play, not as much the past 2 years. He's had only 1,000-yard season, then only just. The efficiency has declined. I just don't think that he's that good. Like, he's not bad. He should be in the NFL still. But he's a guy, he's just disappointed me like 4 too many times. And even with Patrick Mahomes, I just wasn't that excited. I was
maybe one more time, though.
Yes, true. Maybe one more time.
Maybe one more time.
Maybe one more time. I was always more excited about Rashee Rice, always more excited about Xavier Worthy. With Rashee, I kind of always thought like the Alvin Kamara situation was the best analog, where he got arrested for assault in like February 2022. The suspension didn't come till 2023. That always, the NFL just makes it up as it goes along with the off the field stuff. That is always a risk. But my best guess was always no suspension for Rashee this year. That's looking more and more likely. I wanted to be on Worthy and Rashee Rice, and I just needed any reason whatsoever to be all the way out on Marquise Brown, and I would say I have it now.
That makes sense. Crane, any thoughts on the Hollywood Brown fall because of this injury?
Is he good?
Yeah, or is he good?
I don't think he's good. I mean, he once was okay. You know, he had 2 solid seasons to begin his career with the Ravens. They get rid of him after a down season in 2021. He never has above 1.5 yards per out run in either season, 1.44, 1.25 in 2 seasons.
With Lamar especially, like that's tough. That's real tough.
Well, he had 1.83, 1.85 to start his career. But those are promising seasons that could lead to, you know, maybe we get a true breakout. We never did. In fact, he declines from there. That's the peak of his career. I was out on him all summer. The concern, and you know, like, and Daniel Raz was trying to talk some sense in me a little bit. Like we might want to have some exposure to this guy. The case was really like the Juju accumulation bet, where like he's the veteran. He comes in, he gets enough volume, he has a few spike weeks, and he's able to kind of pay it off just because he's on a Patrick Mahomes offense. But like this injury really kind of makes that outcome more thin, because Worthy's getting on the field right away. Like they're not messing around, you know. And now Rice doesn't look like he's getting suspended. So like
here's the thing though, if I may interject, that was always going to happen. Worthy, Rice.
Well, he was always a terrible pick.
No, that's the wrong read of the situation, because that's not accounting for 50 touchdowns in the Chiefs passing offense. This has been people, like, we literally don't need to spend any time on it. People, my operational philosophy is that the Chiefs are scoring 50 passing touchdowns this year. Even the third wide receiver on the Chiefs can earn wide receiver 30 value if that happens, it's dependent on just how much Kelsey dominates the offense. I was actually tailing off on Brown before the injury. I moved him a little bit down in my rankings and moved Worthy up a little bit. But now that you're sitting on the clock and it's like, I mean, sometimes Worthy falls like to the Sutton Hopkins like death nexus. And if that's where it's like, sure, but I will just
sure, yeah, I'll take Brown there.
That's
I mean, don't
guess
get me
the point
wrong.
I wanted to
I'll
make
take him there. Yeah.
Yeah, the death nexus, sure.
He's a better pick now than he was then.
Correct.
Because
yes.
you can actually get him like behind all these wide receivers who are far more interesting talent-based bets, and you're getting him as more of a bet on the situation. You know, like if him versus Sutton, like Sutton, I don't think Sutton's that great, but he's going to get targets because there's no one else to throw to. Brown is sort of it's not the same exact thing. He's going to have less targets, but maybe more touchdowns, maybe some big plays, some big weeks. But you're betting on the situation. So if I can bet on him I'm betting on the situation prices, I'm way more interested. And like, I don't really care if he's going to miss. Like, I'd rather him miss 2 weeks and I get him in the 70s or 80s, as opposed to a full season and I have to take him at like 55. I was just out at that price.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I do think, the point I wanted to bring up is that it feels like a little week one brainy to me to have this massive a fall for Hollywood Brown. Like, Crane, you were out on him to begin with, so I totally get you being out at 55. The people that were in on him at 56, I'm surprised they're letting him fall this far, because I think once we get to week 7 or 8 this season, people aren't really going to remember the 1 or 2 weeks that Marquise Brown missed to start the year. I'm not completely downplaying that. Like, obviously, it'd be great for him to be healthy, get reps with Patrick Mahomes, like maybe stop the early momentum of Xavier Worthy to some extent. But yeah, I just don't think it's that big of a factor. Like, you can easily replace a guy who misses 1, 2, 3 weeks at the start of the season. There's no bye weeks. So
you want to hear a real bullish thing for Hollywood Brown? His replacement in the starting lineup is Justin Watson. So my suggestion would be he will lose approximately 0 routes upon returning to the lineup. It's not going to be a rotating in situation. I mean, that could be wrong, but
what if they just love Justin Watson too much?
Well, they do. Don't get me wrong. They do love Justin Watson, but they love him in the way that the Packers love Bo Melton, like where it's not going to be enough for you to really we're not going to be spending any fab dollars on Justin Watson, I don't think.
Remember when he got 11 targets and we all picked him up?
Remember when he got 11 targets? Everyone played him in DFS the next week, and he scored 1 7-yard touchdown on 1 target. That was a pretty good moment.
I just went, Davis, while you were talking, I wanted to have a potentially hilarious trump card. I was like, man, I know this probably isn't the case, but what if like the data was wonky, like the sample sizes, and Justin Watson somehow had more yards per route run than Hollywood Brown? He did not.
I bet he had like 0.88 yards per route run.
Yeah. He was lucky to be over 1. He was at 1.19, which is elite for Justin Watson.
That is elite for Justin Watson. It's generational line from Justin Watson.
It's generational YPRR.
Yeah, and he's still just easily better than
Do you guys want to hear the most
Yep.
Do you guys want to hear the most brain dead bag defending take you've ever heard?
Yes. I would love to.
Always.
The play that Marquise Brown got injured on, the reason why he was targeted was that it was a play call to try and get Xavier Worthy an 80-yard touchdown on their first play from scrimmage. But Mahomes, went to his second read because the safety shaded over. So Hollywood Brown, as the possession guy, you want to talk about building in a floor. If Worthy is the burner and Hollywood is the guy who's running the 10, 15-yard stuff, I'm just saying, if you want to read into one play and be an idiot like I am,
Dude, that's a weird thing about Worthy. Is like, I do feel like he has a bit of like a prospect identity crisis, and I'm still not entirely sure.
Yeah, it's a bit of a what would you say you do here situation.
Yeah. He's just like, he's so fast, but that's not really how he played in college, and
he's so tiny. I don't know if I want like super tiny outside possession receiver. That seems like not ideal.
Yeah, super tiny wide receivers never been good on the Chiefs before.
Just zoom out on the chart. Just zoom further out. Yeah. You guys are too in the weeds. You are too in the weeds. Out on the chart. The Mahomes threw a behind the back pass in a preseason game, dude. They are out to get points. That's all.
Davis,
I just want.
Are you financially ruined if it's 38 passing touchdowns instead of 50?
No, I'd be okay. Okay.
Davis, what's the optimal way to stack the Chiefs now? Are you doing the Kelsey Mahomes? Are you doing the Rice Mahomes? What is it?
This just happened to me in a big dog this morning. I took Mahomes at 49, so 2 before the 4-5 turn, and the 4-5 turn drafter just snapped Worthy, just like 28 seconds on the clock. Worthy immediate click.
And Rice already gone before you took Mahomes.
Oh yeah, he was a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
So I think the optimal way to do it is 3-4 turn Kelsey, Mahomes, Hollywood Brown at the 5-6.
See, that's the tough part about that is I don't like taking Hollywood now that he's hurt in the early 6th. I'm not getting my discount. I think if Brown were to fall a little bit more to the late 7th and we could do Kelsey, Mahomes, Brown, I would be pretty into that.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that on
6-arm receiver at it as well.
You can do that on DraftKings every time because he's got that Q tag on DraftKings. So Hollywood Brown's just plummeting to, I think he's like mid 80s now. So can get your exposure over there.
I'm in mid 80s.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to note, this route participation stuff, this is from Dwayne McFarlane over at Fantasy Life. I think he gets the data from PFF, but Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy both around 90% of the routes with the starters in preseason week 2. I don't think we're going to have any of the bullshit rotation we had last year to start the year. Maybe Justin Watson is the 4th rotational guy when Hollywood's back, but I think it's really going to be Rice, Worthy, Hollywood, and scraps for the rest of the guys if I was to predict it now, which, again, I think we're just like not used to multiple Chiefs wide receivers being fantasy relevant because we've been poisoned by the last couple of years, I'd say. I think it's
also poisoned by all the idiots playing with Tyreek Hill being terrible. Like, go look at some of the second wide receivers who play with. It was like end of career Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson.
He's not being drafted in every single draft.
No, he's not.
2024.
Please tell me, Pat is not a secret Demarcus Robinson truth.
No, God, no. In fact, I cut him in our 14-team 24 roster spot dynasty league, and I knew immediately people were like, bro, why did you do that? And like, I got a trade. Sigmund Bloom's like, I would have traded you for Demarcus Robinson, man. And like, Josh Norris has been tweeting about D-Rob.
I need Demarcus Robinson.
The problem is that he's got
the fuck out on the dirt.
That is one of my first tasks at RotoWorld, by the way, when I was hired, was to console Pat and let him know it was okay to drop Kenny Yeboah.
It was.
In his dynasty league.
It's not a joke. It's your dynasty league. You're in it too.
Is that like Chris Herndon's backup tight end at that point? Or?
Herndon's backup, I believe.
Yes, the third string tight end on the Jets. I don't know. Can I drop? I don't know.
He was undrafted. In case you're wondering.
No one picked him up. Here's a hot take. Maybe it's not even that hot, but Worthy, I feel like, should he just go ahead of Rice at this point? Like, this usage is really bullish. The rookie, like Rice was, I believe, 27% route participation last year in week 1. And then he slowly ticked up over the course of the year. That's very kind of standard Andy Reid stuff. If Worthy's just like a full-time starter to begin the year, that's a pretty bullish indicator on his talent, like about his ability to pick up the playbook, about how he's connecting with Mahomes, like all of that. Now, maybe some of it's influenced by the Marquise Brown injury, but it's still good.
Rashee does have a 38% target share in the snaps he's played with Mahomes this preseason. So, I mean, Corinne, I'll spoil this. Should I spoil the truth serum for the video? I'll spoil it.
Okay.
My truth serum, take is that Xavier Worthy is going to score more points than Malik Neighbors, who's a second round pick. Malik Neighbors is playing with potentially the 32nd out of 32nd ability passing quarterbacks. Like Daniel Jones, because now he's in the I mean, Pat, you're going to be very familiar with this. Not only is he a terrible quarterback, but he's now a terrible quarterback that's playing with no confidence, like negative level confidence. If you're bad, but you play like Bortles, where you're like, I can make that throw, you can at least do some stuff. But now Jones is like in his head as a bad quarterback.
Well, that's the thing too. He's always been a no confidence back in his abilities, but he at least had confidence like in his body. His ability to be like his downfield passing ability. Now, like, will he even trust his body? Like, will he even? I guess the early
the pick six he threw in the first quarter of that game, that was Nathan Peterman-esque. I mean, it was so bad.
It was
I read an article in The Athletic this morning, and it was saying that Jones was so bad in the preseason that the beat reporter actually went and researched to see how they could get out of his contract this year, not next year, this year. They can't.
Daniel Jones has the fourth highest cap hit in the NFL this year.
Yeah, so it's not great, but the the silver lining for our purposes was that his takeaway was that Jones does seem to have one path, which is that he needs to throw to Malik Neighbors every single time. And if he does, maybe he can, be serviceable. So maybe he has no confidence in his own ability, but if he has enough confidence in Malik Neighbors' ability to pepper him with targets, we could be okay.
Well, then he'll just get him. He'll get him hurt. He'll hospital ball him probably in like week 3. Then though, like there's a lot of bad outcomes here.
Yeah,
he's gonna score more points than Worthy.
That's fair.
There's not a more franchise-crushing playoff victory than the Giants win over the Vikings in the wild card weekend of 2022.
One thing, if they had just won, they passed them out of the building. Like if they were like 13-6 or something, maybe they wouldn't have done it. They let Danny like stunt on them.
That's letting Shane off the hook too much. They had a franchise tag and a contract at their disposal, and they said, let's franchise our running back and give a long-term deal that's going to be super hard to get out of to this quarterback who like we really aren't sure about yet. Franchise tag the quarterback and see what you have for another season, and pay Barkley, because you're not going to pay him that much, and he's the face of the franchise. Everyone loves him. It was just a really dumb decision.
That's an extremely good, obvious point that I have not thought of somehow. Like, yikes.
Well, franchising Saquon Barkley, that was totally worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
And now they have Devin Singletary. Like, at least you could add Saquon Barkley.
The breakout Daniel Jones season, I know he ran a lot. He had 15 passing touchdowns. 15 in 16 games. Like we're never gonna see anything like it again.
If you have the ability to like stall on committing to one of these quarterbacks who you kind of know isn't it, stall. Always stall. Like always stall. The worst case scenario is like, Jordan Love.
The worst case is Dak and Kirk Cousins. They just got expensive. You have to slightly overpay Kirk Cousins and Dak. That's the worst case scenario.
Jordan Love, they stalled. They gave him the 2-year deal, and then he was so good that he was able to dictate a new deal. And okay.
Yeah, shout out to Jordan Love for betting on himself, dude. Karain, someone just pinged me in that dynasty trade that I turned down from you trying to offload Jordan Love to me. Yeah. Incredible. It's incredible how much this stuff swings. It's really incredible. In this same league, I couldn't get rid of Geno Smith for a 4th round pick. No one wanted him. It's Dynasty. Yeah. Dynasty is so miserable.
I heard that anecdote. You basically the trade offer was basically like Adam Troutman for Jordan Love, and Davis said no.
I offered, because you have to do in this league. We have it's pretty strict about making sure you always have balanced rosters. So you always have to get a guy who is sort of a roster balancer drop a 0.
Yeah.
So I offered Davis Jordan Love for Adam Troutman as the roster drop balancer, but then really for a 2nd and a 3rd round pick in the following year. Davis responded to that trade offer by saying, yeah, that's great, but you have to give me this year's 2nd and this year's 3rd. So he's just like, I will take Jordan Love from you for free.
Didn't work out, Davis. It
didn't.
All right. No, it didn't. We gotta move on here. 40 minutes in, we've covered maybe 1 topic, 2 topics.
This I am jazzed for this. I hope we do 30 minutes on Sam Darnold right now.
Okay, yeah, we have some Sam Darnold stuff. I did some digging here. So Sam Darnold, obviously, news breaks that JJ McCarthy is going to miss the season. Sam Darnold moves up to draftable territory, now going consistently in sort of the 17th round. To frame this conversation, I wanted to look into the history of Sam Darnold. It is really, really ugly. So he has basically 5 seasons where he played meaningful games, 2018 to 2022, never eclipsed more than 15 fantasy points per game, never eclipsed more than the quarterback 21 in fantasy points per game scoring. And that was kind of generously including a lot of quarterbacks there. So it's probably a little bit even worse than that. If you're making excuses for Sam Darnold, you can look at his list of head coaches and top weapons.
How about the 2 players that he has completed over 100 passes to? It's worse than you could possibly imagine. It's Robbie Chosen and Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, it's bad.
Adam Gase?
He did. It's on
for 2 years
right here. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt Rule for 2 years, Adam Gase for 2 years, Todd Bowles for 1 year. I mean, I forgot how bad the weapons were in New York for those couple of seasons. It was Jamison Crowder, Robbie Chosen, Chris Herndon. Somehow the second mention of him on the show. He was
Quincy Enunwa.
He
now
was the
that
number
is
two
a remember that guy.
Yeah, it's a whole list. Le'Veon Bell was the third highest pass catcher. The Jet version of Le'Veon Bell in 2019. I mean, it was ugly. So you can make some excuses.
Who was the OC there in 2019 or 2018 under Bowles?
Was it Gase?
It was Jeremy Bates.
Oof. Isn't he he's a position coach? I know. He's also a Canadian author, by the way. I was typing in Jeremy Bates on Google.
when you type in an OC and a Canadian author comes up, he probably wasn't that effective.
Here's the deal on Jeremy Bates is that he has not had a job in the NFL since 2018. This is not a joke.
That's a shocker.
Yeah.
I mean,
Windhorst.
Yeah.
So I guess the question for you guys, I'll start with you, Rotopat. How many excuses can we make for Sam Darnold? Are we really expecting him to bounce back with better coaching, much better weapons? What are our thoughts for this year?
The thing is that they are really compelling excuses, but I always fall back on there's only certain players you need to make excuses for, and it's usually the bad players. And that the good players somehow find a way. The good players do find a way. The good players get Jeremy Bates another job in the NFL. And there's some people.
Adam Gase is because Peyton Manning. Manning's it's his fault that we dealt with Adam Gase.
Yes. So the good players tend to rise above. I do believe there are probably some players who would have been really good in the NFL and just got totally crushed by circumstance, and the Sam Darnold resume here looks like that.
He's literally the guy.
I know he might be the guy. He actually might be the guy.
What if CJ Stroud had this list of coaches? Are we?
No. He'd be amazing, dude. PFF wasn't even good.
I don't think Chris Herndon would be the dynasty TE3 right now. Come on.
PFF, Bobby held him back last year, to be honest.
But not as much as Jeremy Bates, Adam Gase, and Matt Rule. That's about as bad. Out of Urban Meyer is basically the only way this could get worse.
The one thing I always come back to with Darnold is the one time he's ever functional. It was that Panthers team that went ultra mega run heavy, and I could buy into he's a quarterback where he can be a good play action quarterback, like a good pick your spots quarterback with an elite running game. We know the Vikings aren't doing that. We don't want the Vikings to do that, obviously. You can't do that with Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. I just feel like he's going to be pretty overexposed for what he needs to be. But it is Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson. I'm open to anything. But I just feel like after 6 years in the league, we would know by now if there's a reason these excuses have been made, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know. But he'll probably be amazing. He's going to make the Pro Bowl.
Share this tab. Share this tab real quick. If you want any reason to give any hope into some guys who've been in the same cohort as Sam Darnold, this is quarterbacks age 21 to 26 with over 1,500 pass attempts, but less than 6.2 adjusted YPA. There are several guys on this list playing in, not the same league, but who were ass and then either became league average or better. Vic, Randall Cunningham, depending on your perspective, Sam Bradford, that's really an eye of the beholder situation. Donovan McNabb, John Elway, Eli Manning.
Geno on there?
Geno is on the Geno didn't have the attempts. Geno did not have if you ran this at 500 attempts, Geno would be on this list. Geno really, I suppose, is
he's the hopeful outcome.
Geno is the hopeful comp. Alex Smith, honestly, is not a totally zero comp.
Yeah.
My perspective is this. Nick Mullins has a career 8.1 YPA. He played one season away from the McShanny cheaters. He averaged 4.9 YPA. He averaged 4.9 YPA in the one non-cheating season.
And the cheating is just designing a good offense.
It's not real football. It's
not real football, though.
It's not real.
Pat, you are very woke to this. What the Shanahans do is not real football.
No,
it's literally cheating.
And that's why the Super Bowl started. You can see how he knew he wasn't going to win. He never for 1 second believed they were going to win the Super Bowl because even he knows. He
knows.
Yes.
So
totally agree.
I fully expect that we're going to be sitting here in the 2025 offseason, right? And we're going to the fun fact, the trivia from this year will be: do you realize that Sam Darnold was the quarterback 6 when he was benched?
Yep. You are literally. I have never agreed with something Pat Kerrane said more than what he just said.
I thought you were going to say the trivia fact was going to be that Sam Darnold led the league in yards per attempt.
The Vikings led the league in passing yards last year, with 9 of those games being played by Jaron Hall, Josh Dobbs, and Nick Mullins.
Yeah, we got a Sam Howell again, right? This is the Sam Howell situation.
Yes.
But you don't have really any. So part of the reason I was out on Sam Howell last year was that you had an offensive coordinator in Bieniemy who was like desperately trying to kind of prove himself, and Ron Rivera very, very clearly on the hot seat. And so these coaches that need to save their jobs or try to get new jobs are not going to just ride it out with Howell to the bitter end. So if he's bad, if he takes a bunch of sacks, kind of does what he did at the end there, just kind of all falls apart, then they're going to bench him and they're going to go to Brissett. But this is a much more secure situation for Kevin O'Connell. I mean, in some ways,
like literally no chance he gets fired. Like
zero chance. He gets
I don't know.
fired.
I never go that far in the NFL, to be honest. Like they don't care if you're sharp or not. I kind of think the Vikings front office is already on the hot seat, to be honest. KOC, no one would ever perceive him as being on the hot seat. I think there's already a little. They've had some questionable process.
Pat, you know this as well as we do, though. The rookie quarterback getting the preseason injury buys them so much time.
I don't know about that either, to be honest, because he was like that was a polarizing pick, a questionable pick.
But he looked good in the preseason. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope.
Kevin Cole tweeted this, and I've never thought something is more accurate. Him looking kind of good for 2 quarters in the preseason bought him like a 15-year NFL career, even if he ends up like his range of outcomes went from UFL in 3 years to Chase Daniel. Like he's Chase Daniel at worst.
I will say, to be honest, I wish this is like how cynical I am when he got hurt, JJ McCarthy, one of my first thoughts, I wish this were a joke. One of the first thoughts that popped in my head was over under 9.5 career starts for JJ McCarthy. Wow. Like a guy who was the QB friggin' 5, like who if they hadn't taken him might have fallen out of the first round.
No. People were pretty woke to JJ McCarthy. Some people
were. Other people are taking other quarterbacks and then sitting them for 2 years instead of I don't know. When you could have traded down, and I don't know where I'm going with that, to be honest. But I just never thought JJ McCarthy was good. It's a big problem.
Yeah. No, I mean you're right. Like Darnold really the problem with Darnold is that he throws interceptions, he makes like egregious mistakes that get people benched. So that's where it's very it's like Daniel Jones this year, where like there's a good chance he gets benched if they don't make the playoffs. They may really, really be want to make sure that he is not their quarterback in 2025, and the way to do that is to bench him once you're out of the playoff race. That's not the case with Darnold. Like he's just not going to be their quarterback in 2025, but he could be bad enough where they throw in Mullins, they throw in whoever else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like, don't you think KOC deep down believes that he can make the playoffs with Nick Mullins? And if Darnold starts like seeing
probably not Mullins.
No. But Sam, this is almost missing the forest for the trees, because something that we have not touched on yet is that also every coach believes they can fix Sam Darnold. That's why he keeps getting these contracts. Shanahan thought it, Rule thought it, because he was, let's not obfuscate the prospect that he was an unbelievably appealing prospect. He was super young. He was a really great deep thrower. Like he had these kind of things you can't, and he does throw a beautiful ball.
People thought he might go number 1.
People thought he might go number 1. Like he really was a great prospect, and that carries sway. Also, who the quarterback's coach is for the Minnesota Vikings? Josh McCown, who is like best friends with Sam Darnold. They were teammates for the Jets. McCown lobbied for him, wanted him. He got paid a bunch of money for a backup quarterback. I think he's $10.5 million a year.
You know what this means, Davis? Josh McCown, Sam Darnold, Underdog Show 2025.
Yep.
I got
2027 when he's been fired and McCarthy's already Darnold's out of the league. Yeah.
I got a little bit of trivia here. So this was Kevin O'Connell's first year ever being in a serious role for a team. He was the Washington Commanders. Was he the quarterbacks? He was the OC for the 2019 Washington football team. His quarterbacks were Case Keenum, age 31 Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, and Colt McCoy. Any guesses on the YPA that he got out of those guys on 479 attempts?
Well, Keenum was kind of good. Keenum was sneaky good.
You just described 7.4 there. Is what you described, Davis.
No, 6.7. 6.7.
Yeah.
6.7 would be Jets. Sam Darnold would have committed a crime for 6.7 YPA.
He did commit a crime.
Adrian Peterson and Darius Geis were the lead rushers for this Washington team.
Darius Geis, my God.
Wow.
If I end up being wrong, whatever.
What is the right way to play? Because like in redraft, right? You get boxed out a quarterback, Sam Darnold.
No, dude,
like
redraft, it's like
No.
Trevor Lawrence
Redraft
is falling, Justin Herbert's falling,
Yeah,
falling, Goff's
You're right.
falling.
You're right. You shouldn't do it. I don't know how you would be.
the way to play
Maybe
it.
Superflex? Is Superflex the right?
Superflex.
Yeah.
No, the Superflex, it's the kind of thing where you're like, you like outwardly like, oh, dude, I really didn't want to take Sam Darnold.
But
And
you're
then on
psyched.
the inside,
I would
you're
take
like,
I would
hell
take
yes.
Sam Darnold over Aaron Rodgers in Superflex, I think.
Yeah. But the problem is in Superflex, if you lose a quarterback to him getting benched, that's also like, what is the
It's
format where?
catastrophic.
Yeah, we can't. The bench risk is a problem, and I don't really think BBM's the right format for him. Like if we lose him in the final weeks,
you know who the
it
right
hurts
what
so
the right
bad.
format is for Sam Darnold?
What?
This is the
Week
most
1
best ball.
DFS.
No, this is the most best ball brain thing you've ever heard someone say. It's a really good pick in weekly winners.
Yes,
where
you're right, dude.
where
It's
he's
weekly
like-
winners.
he's like 30% owned in the whole contest, and we're about 30 minutes into the Sam Darnold discussion. We haven't mentioned the best wide receiver in the NFL, who so happens to be his teammate. You can
Jalen
take
Nailor.
Justin Jefferson. And
Justin Jefferson falling behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's crazy.
Yeah.
it's one of the most beautiful
That's no
things that's
good.
ever happened in fantasy football, that you could just be like, you could get the 109 in your home league draft and be like, dude, I might get Justin
You
Jefferson.
might get the best skill player on planet Earth.
Is this bad for him? I don't think it's bad.
No, I think it's bad. I think he wanted 2 outs to get quarterback play, and you can believe in the Sam Darnold comeback, but man, it's still Sam Darnold.
He averaged 18 and a half points a game with Mullins.
I
It's
know,
gonna be
but
fine.
Dude, Mullins might be better than Darnold. Like, let's
He might
be
be.
real. Let's be
He
real.
might be.
yeah. I just think with Darnold, it's tough because you have Drake May and Bo Nix who go after him now.
Yeah,
and I just feel so
May
much
is a better
better.
pick.
Yeah.
May is a way better
You
pick.
should draft May over Sam Darnold.
Dude, you
Yeah,
should
but
honestly draft Knicks even. No,
Yeah,
not over
you're
Darnold.
probably right.
No,
Yeah.
never mind. No.
Knicks. I did see someone say Knicks has CJ Stroud outs where he like elevates the whole team, and I just wanted this to be on record that that's the exact opposite of what Knicks does. The thing that Knicks does is he takes the catastrophic more turnovers than touchdowns thing out of the range of outcomes for a rookie quarterback, because it's like the exact opposite of what he does. But he will never be that guy.
He's not an
He will never-
elevator. No,
No, he's not an elevator.
No, you're hoping to get like, I don't know, like some Goffy spike weeks out of him or something.
Goffy.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
hoping for the scam. You're just Knicks is the total scam
It's a
play.
big scam show here.
Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
scam play.
But you get the job security. Like they can't. I mean, I guess Peyton does whatever he wants, so maybe he could. But they're unlikely to bench Knicks as the week 1 starter. You know, like he's a first round rookie. Like benching him at the end of the season. That's a sign of failure. That's like a problem. Coaches don't want to do that. So you get the job security with him, which is a big deal.
let's move on here to the 49ers running back situation. Jordan Mason is a big riser. He's up 20 spots to pick 187. Elijah Mitchell, basically the opposite pattern. He's down 15 spots to pick 204. I raised the question, is it Jover for Elijah Mitchell? Start with you, Davis.
I really have a hard time caring about this situation. It's like year 11 of the Eli Mitchell experience. We've also literally done this with Jordan Mason. Like we literally did this already. My opinion is that Shanahan is such a dick with these guys that I don't really like taking either of them Like Gurendo is going to make great.
Cody Schrader season, folks. Even though was he horrific over the weekend?
He was not very good. But Gurendo is going to be active on game days because he's the kick returner. So you're talking about 4 running backs being active. It just I don't know. My conviction is very low. I take Estime over these guys every time.
So I wanted to start with the history of what we actually have game data of. We have a 20 game sample of both Mitchell and Mason being healthy in the same game. And trust me, this was not easy data to come up with because Elijah Mitchell has about 7 injuries alone in the last 2 years where he misses.
Well, that's why Mason's in the discussion. They're sick of it.
Exactly. That's why. But still, even with all of that Elijah Mitchell bullshit, we have 20 games the last 2 years of both of them being healthy at the same time. It is pretty obvious if you trust last 2 years of data who the team likes better. 17 and a half of those 20 games, there was one game where they tied. Mitchell played more snaps than Mason. 20 of those games, Mitchell played at least one offensive snap. Jordan Mason only saw one offensive snap in 12 out of 20 of those games. It doesn't really matter if you split out only 2023 or only 2022. I looked at this. It's pretty similar both years. So we kind of did this last year where everyone was writing Mitchell's obituary. There was the one game where Jordan Mason outsnapped him. I think CMC maybe got a little banged up or something. And then they went right back to Mitchell as sort of the clear number 2. So I just wanted to say that
and I don't know. He got hurt again.
Yeah. And then he got hurt again and he's hurt now. And also
that's what we would expect to see. I mean, he was the clear backup. And the difference is that Shanahan has been, and Shanahan was asked last year, what would Jordan Mason need to do to play more? And he would need 2 injuries in front of him because he's our running back 3. What are you talking about? So it was very clear that he was the running back 3 behind Mitchell, but there's been talk that maybe that's changing and that Mason has taken the job this offseason from Mitchell. So I guess I'm not we already
just to interject there when you say talk of that, Crane, it is just beat speculation and Shanahan has not come out and said
he hasn't said it. But he's been complimentary of Mason and talked about him growing as a running back.
Yeah.
My vaguely serious but kind of galaxy brain take on the situation is that Kyle Shanahan is usually so unforgiving with young players. And for some reason, he gave all the leash in the world to Elijah Mitchell. I almost felt got the sense sometimes, dude, I cannot believe Kyle Shanahan is keeping the faith so much with Elijah Mitchell. This is so against type for him. I almost wondered if he was trying to go against type.
Because
he's I'm going to be patient for once. I'm going to be patient.
It's because Eli Mitchell bailed him out the rookie year. He had no plan if Eli Mitchell wasn't good that year.
I don't know, it's possible. But I've been stunned how much patience he's had with Elijah Mitchell, who commits the cardinal sin of not being available.
He's the Joe Williams of Ben Tate's is kind of my thought on Eli Mitchell.
What does that mean?
If you think about it, you'll get there. No, it does.
He was better than Ben Tate.
He's
already done more than Ben Tate.
No. Ben Tate was awesome until he got the job. Ben Tate was amazing anytime we'd see him for 20 snaps a game.
But Elijah Mitchell was instantly really good his rookie year.
Again, it's that one season was better than Tate's entire career.
No, I'm telling you, if you think about it long enough, you'll get there.
All right, we'll think that over. I don't want to spend a ton more time here, but yeah, I think the answer is that
I don't know what that means. What does it mean?
I'll have to think about it. I'll get the logic.
You don't even know what it means.
We'll get back to you.
Yeah. I mean, if CMC gets hurt, it's just pretty obviously going to be a committee, and then Mitchell will probably get hurt too. So
CMC gets hurt trading for Javonte Williams. Although I keep insisting in every podcast I go on, the Cowboys they're going to trade for Javonte Williams.
No, they sign Jeff Wilson and then Tevin Coleman and then
that's
Dante
true.
Freeman.
Oh my god,
that's the pecking order of who they
go
to.
Guys, it's Dalvin Cook. You think Dalvin Cook is not already looking like he's got department in Dallas?
It's always Tevin Coleman somehow. Tevin Coleman played the most snaps out of any running back in the Super Bowl last year for the 49ers. That's not true, but it's
no, it might be.
It might be.
No, it is. It's look it up. It's on the Pro Football Reference game.
What is Tevin Coleman the blank of?
I don't understand the first thing that you said, so it's hard for me to do it again. I have no idea what
I said one. I had one in the ship chasing Discord last night that everyone universally agreed was accurate. But I don't remember what it was.
No, you said something like
this is the I have a
someone-
girlfriend in Canada of smart points.
You had
I made a
something
great
about
point.
someone who's the Panthers Adam Thielen of I can't remember, but it made sense.
It was
at the
no,
time.
it was okay. I'm gonna go find it. I'm gonna find it. You guys continue the show. I'm gonna go
All
find
right.
the funny thing I said.
Let's move on to Braelon Allen. Maybe a little bit more exciting of a topic. He's up 17 spots to pick 169. Start with you, Rotopat. How are you approaching the Jets' backup running back situation this year?
Well, it's kind of a thing. Is more of like a redraft than best ball guy. Even though I still have been drafting a little bit, I'm just kind of like, why am I even supposed to care about this? Like Braelon Allen to me is like
That's
already,
basically
like,
every single thing on the show. You can basically say that.
No.
about.
The Braelon Allen was more like I already just like took it as an article of faith. He was the main contingency back. I know the drumbeat has been weird on Braelon Allen. I must admit, I'm almost getting worried he could have some sort of standalone role, but I still just don't know why he would be more than
You mean
breather back.
what, you mean excited?
Like he's just a pure breather back to me, and the
What if
drum
he's
beat's
not,
weird
though?
though. The drum
What if
beat is
it-
weird. The drum.
What if
beat's
it's
weird.
a thunder and lightning situation?
I would be devastated. I would be totally devastated.
By the way, it was Josh Palmer is the Panthers' Adam Thielen of Cortland Sutton's, which is I dare you.
Wait,
I
say
dare
that again.
You,
It's
Josh
on the
Palmer
screen.
is the Panthers' Adam Thielen of Cortland Sutton's.
that honestly rings true to me.
That
I think that's
honestly-
right. No, I think
That
that
is
is right.
100
that
was-
rings true to me. That
Yeah,
rings true
That
to
one's
me.
true.
All right. Anyways, here's the thing on Braelon Allen.
Yeah, tell
He
me.
is a great pick because he's got immediate, unquestioned.
All I was saying, Davis, is I already thought that, and like I
Oh,
don't really
sure.
know what's changed.
Now I see what you're saying now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I had
Yeah.
already
Okay,
baked all
okay.
that in, and I just wasn't sure like why the narrative is changing, other than they keep steaming him, the coaching staff themselves.
Yeah, this is
compelling.
a case. This is a case of people taking the Yankee stuff too seriously. Where like Isaiah Davis was playing some snaps ahead of him in their most recent preseason game. That's like a total nothing. They just want to see some Isaiah Davis.
That's all I meant with Braelon Allen was like,
Okay.
like the situation changed? Question mark. Like I wasn't really sure like what had changed for Braelon.
Yeah, I think it's just people. I think this is an effect of the week one preseason usage, which was really bullish for Braelon, and everyone's just putting their chips all in on him being the clear handcuff because, yeah, I think people are desperate. Like we talked about with Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason, there's so many of these ambiguous RB2 situations that just seeing one that looks pretty clear.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
People are, yeah, it's just kind of a best ball brain take, I think.
No, but it's applicable to season long and redraft too. Or
Yeah.
best ball season long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's applicable too. Yeah.
Yeah, I did want to say that the Isaiah Davis thing, this was weird. Crane, I don't know if you had any read on this. Isaiah Davis did go into the game before Braelon Allen last week and played like slightly more snaps with the starters. Are you putting any weight into that, or should we just like trust the Braelon drumbeat and ignore this?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Braelon Allen's probably the Roy Halou of Latavius Murray's.
No. He was way better.
No.
He's someone that
he's the Brandon Jacobs of Trey Sermons.
No, he's like
Oh my
no,
God.
he's like that. He's like the Alfred Morris of Felix Jones is much more accurate.
I'd say he's the LeGarrette Blunt of Tyrone Wheatley's.
You had me on LeGarrette Blunt. I can.
He's the Bo Scarborough of I couldn't come up.
He's the Audric Estime of Blake Watson's.
Audric Estime and Blake Watson and one guy would be like Saquon Barkley.
And then we're talking league winner. Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think we should be overreacting to Isaiah Davis getting a little bit of run. Braelon Allen like immediately established himself as the running back 2 there. Izzy Abanikanda was like out as soon as he arrived. They've been talking up his ability to catch passes, versatility. Looks pretty good. So it's probably like a little bit of a minor thing to keep in the back of your mind, but we're betting on these running back 2s that are kind of the clear-cut running back 2s, but we would also like some hope that they're talented. And Allen does give us that, like I'm taking Dameon Pierce now. I'm taking Tank Bigsby. Like these guys have shown me they stink.
I've taken a few Tank Bigsby's, man. By the way,
nah, dude, I like taking Allen. I have principles.
I mean, I respect it. Like I'm debasing myself by taking these guys who I know stink.
It's a total debasement.
Tank Bigsby being a good pick now, like objectively, is so annoying to me because I don't want a player who is that bad. He was Kadarius Toney level bad.
He was so bad.
He was so bad.
Yeah. So I mean, Allen, like just by not having been that bad, is a great pick. Like honestly, like maybe he's not like 100% giga locked into an every down role. Okay. But like, neither is Bigsby. Bigsby would probably split time with Dearness Johnson if Travis Etienne went down. And yet he's draftable just on the basis of him getting the first crack at the RB2 job. So draftable for the role, plus who knows, he might be good, is kind of a smash at the range he's still going in.
Yeah. I understand now why this is happening. You guys have all made a lot of good points on Braelon Allen.
Yeah.
Let's move on here to Jaguars wide receiver situation. Another sort of ADP riser faller pairing. Brian Thomas is up 4 spots to pick 74, while Christian Kirk is down 5 spots to pick 52. It's kind of an annual tradition that everyone freaks out that Christian Kirk doesn't play in 2 wide receiver sets in the preseason. We called this last year. I did dig into the data a little bit last year.
We always freak out every year.
Every year. It's like year 5 of this experience.
This slot receiver playing in the slot.
It also literally was 5. It was literally 5 snaps the Jaguars played with the starters in preseason week 1, and he literally just didn't play on the single 12 personnel snap. So
yeah, but when you break it down into percentages, it seems way worse. The stat. Oh, Jontavian Wicks only played 33% of the snaps with the starters for the Packers, buddy. It's incredible. It's amazing.
Yeah. It is ridiculous. Last year, there definitely was this week 1 data point is really the scary one. Week 1 last year, maybe this was the plan before Zay Jones got banged up. Christian Kirk played just 66% or ran just 66% of the routes. After that week, though, there really wasn't a huge difference between, when Zay Jones was healthy and when he wasn't. Christian Kirk still averaged 85% of the routes, even with Zay Jones healthy. That's due to the Jaguars just playing a ton of 11 personnel that didn't really run much 12 last year. So yeah, start with you, Rotopat. Are you worried at all about Christian Kirk? Do you think there's a big difference between Ridley and Zay Jones to Brian Thomas and Gabe Davis in terms of Kirk's outlook for 2024?
Yeah, Christian Kirk's the kind of player I just always worry about. And I think it's been overreactions, but I feel like it was people coming back to reality. Christian Kirk is a hard capped player. There's just a totally hard ceiling with Christian Kirk. Maybe Brian Thomas has through the bottom of the house floor. The floor can totally drop out for Brian Thomas. There's at least unknown ceiling there. He's been flashing a lot of his pre-draft skill set has been showing up on the preseason field and more the practice field, but it has been showing up. The upside Brian Thomas outcomes, wow. And just is the classic, anytime there's a first round wide receiver that doesn't get hyped, in general, if you're going to overhype or underhype a first round receiver, you're always better off overhyping them. Because there's a failure of imagination a lot of times with first round picks, where especially in the 20s, you focus on the negatives. Where I think it was a reminder to focus on the positive, these guys, and Brian Thomas has been flashing the positive. Christian Kirk's just another guy. A lot of, especially people like me who aren't drafting literally every day, you don't need to give me reasons to not take Christian. I already was not taking Christian Kirk. I'd rather be dead than drafting Christian Kirk. Just not doing it.
Is Brian Thomas a generational wide receiver 4 prospect? Do we think?
Was he only the wide receiver 4, or was he the wide receiver 6?
I think he'd be a generational wide receiver 5.
Yes.
I don't know about wide receiver 4.
Yeah,
except if I remember correctly, I think wasn't Justin Jefferson the 5th drafted wide receiver?
Yeah, that's a generational wide receiver 5.
Out of the JSN hole, I believe. The 22
JSN hole.
22 spot, I think. So, JSN.
I like that you can only think in terms of JSN Rotopat, because that's how kind of my brain works.
Yeah, that's definitely Sam's.
JSN broke all of us somehow, one way or another last year.
Yeah, we were all broken.
Yeah. But yeah, Brian Thomas, the funny thing about Brian Thomas I wanted to bring up is that all offseason, the beats in Jacksonville were this guy's not that good. He's not really flashing. he makes one, like in parentheses, one play in the preseason, and now all of a sudden the Beats are like, yeah, this guy's the best wide receiver we've ever seen.
That's actually not true.
John Shipley has liked Brian Thomas.
Their tone changed a lot after the preseason game.
Well, to me, it was something that had already shifted, and then it became a megaphone once we were hearing stuff we'd already started to hear. Okay. So what I was cracking up when we were doing our rankings discussion last week, I was like, we are so sick that we've actually, like, you know how we used to get biased for like 8 weeks by what happened week 1? I mean, I guess we still do, but we're now biased against Brian Thomas because of 2 days to start training camp. That's how in the weeds.
Because that's when we're most locked in, is right when training camp. Like, name something that happened at Bill's training camp the last week. You don't know.
Right. People ease back.
Guys, they cut Khalil Shakir, and but you bring
no one knows that. No one knows. But the training camp reports shifted on Thomas after the first like 3 or 4 days. They were like, this dude's starting to make plays downfield. He's really difficult to cover downfield. Hopefully he can add more to his repertoire, but he's already showing that he's like a legit downfield receiver.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best picks in
I think
right now, especially on like DraftKings. I keep bringing up DraftKings. It's the only place I'm allowed to draft.
FFPC, he is super cheap on other platforms. Besides,
he's going to be like non-existent too, and like like my kind of like home leagues redraft.
Oh yeah,
you literally have to like hit the scroll function on your mouse like 3 times to get.
You lock the scroll button here.
You lock it. You gotta lock it.
This goes all the way down. Yeah,
he's got the boring name factor too for your home leagues. So, like people are going to see Brian Thomas and be like, I'm taking Xavier.
They're gonna have no idea if he's a rookie or not. Like Brian, because like you said, an anodyne name ever. Like
yeah.
Brian Thomas. Good pick.
Are we worried at all, even a smidge, about the Jaguars beat saying it actually looks like they're asking Gabe Davis to be a real wide receiver?
No,
like
that
instead
can't
of
be
just
true.
running 9 routes.
I will say the Jags. Doug Peterson seems to never have any idea what he's doing ever since the Super Bowl. Like seems to never have any clue.
That's a real one. This is a real one.
That's a real one.
Yeah.
He has no clue, and I do worry about that.
We can move past this Christian Kirk comparison. Nothing really big to see here.
This is the. Do you know about this? This is like the lifeblood of this show.
Yeah, I didn't
know this one actually.
I had like made this chart, and then I realized I had no way to segue to it. Like, why am I comparing Christian Kirk to T. Higgins? But...
You know why?
It's all about the injuries. He's gonna actually be good. T. Higgins, dark secret for T. Higgins is that it's never been good.
It's kind of an open secret on this.
It is actually
it's an open secret on the show. Rico Dowdle, we got to talk about because Crane wrote an article about him, so we got to talk about him. Crane, I'll give you the floor here. I read your article. Everyone should check it out on Legendary Upside. Something about you don't even have to be right about Rico Dowdle. I'm butchering the title, but I thought that was a good article. Give the case for why Dowdle should go even higher if you think he should.
Yeah, it's talking about barely being right. We're like, we want to the extent possible, we don't want to have to like hit huge home runs and how different we are from the field. And Dowdle, I think, just gives us basically, I'm saying, I think his range of outcomes, although it includes bad scenarios where they sign someone like Miles Sanders or Samaje Perine or whatever like that, that's obviously a huge problem. And you will feel really bad about drafting him if that happens. But if that doesn't happen, you're getting a guy who's competing against Zeke right now. He's splitting reps with the ones. He's being priced at like the same level of Blake Corum, where it's like it's a pure contingency-based bet. So you're getting like, even if he was just the locked-in RB2 to Zeke's RB1, we would be interested at this price. So you're getting a lot of upside of that he takes that job, really not baked into the ADP. Now, maybe it's balancing out the risk of him turning to a 0 if they sign someone. But my thing with the signing is like, he would still go in like the Roschon Johnson area, I think. Like they're bringing in like washed Miles Sanders or some cast off like Izzy Abanikanda, even a Perine. Like Perine would mostly play on passing downs. He'd kind of be a Spider-Man meme Spider-Man point to Zeke. So which I think I stole from Reeves. But anyway, the guys they would bring in, like Khalil Herbert was the one that scared me because that's kind of like the 1-for-1 replacement for the role I envisioned for Dowdle. But like, I don't think that's happening. So I'm basically feeling that Dowdle's ADP kind of reflects like just a weaker bet than he actually is if things break right for him. So I am taking him. I'm kind of I would say somewhere in the early 100s is where I go, okay, this now feels properly priced. But I mean, this dude was going in the 130s. He's now in the 120s. Once he is in the 1-teens, it feels a lot.
Wouldn't you just
closer.
Take him over like truth? Can I give you some truth serum?
Sure.
Wouldn't you just take him at like RB29?
Well, who's that over?
Like Brian Robinson.
No, I wouldn't take him over Robinson. I don't think because Robinson's almost like what I hope he is. I'm hoping I'm getting Brian Robinson on the Cowboys, but I think Robinson is in a decent enough situation. I would just take Robinson.
I would take him over Javonte probably, but I guess I'm not a reliable Javonte narrator.
Rico
I think that
Dowdle is the Shane Vereen of something. I gotta work more on this one, but he's the Shane Vereen of something.
Shane Vereen of Rashard Higgins's.
No, you can't do cross positional.
No, I meant damn it.
I think he's the Dernis Johnson
Jennings.
of Dernis Johnson of Donta Foreman's, I think.
Oh, I like that's good.
Dernis Johnson
that
of
is
Deontay
good.
Foreman's.
Yeah,
that's pretty good actually.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
By the way, I was trying to do one earlier and I couldn't think of Michael Bush. It was driving me crazy. I went with Tyron Wheatley, but I really want to do
Broncos running back. Michael Bush?
I think he was Raiders Michael Bush, right?
I was totally obsessed with tying all that in together. I was obsessed with the idea that the Cowboys would just trade for Javonte Williams. I haven't seen any buzz to that effect whatsoever.
I think sneakily Sean Payton loves Javonte Williams.
I think I'm starting to believe it. I am starting to believe
probably
it.
does.
The Shane Vereen of Benny Snell's. Kevin Tompkins got it.
The Alex
really
Collins
good.
of Chris Carson's.
That's pretty good.
Too
I think
similar.
that's pretty good.
It's pretty good, but they're too similar styles.
I don't know if the style is really the same there either.
It's hard to say.
All right, where are we on the show? I wanted to get Rotopat's. I wanted to get Rotopat's Rico Dowdle take. Yeah, what are your thoughts on him here? You know, he's being priced on underdog at like running back 35, I think it is. Oh no, even later, 38. I assume even in home leagues, he's maybe even going later than that. Curious your take, Rotopat.
I'd much rather bet on the unknown upside principle with Rico Dowdle than whatever the principle is with Zeke at this point. And like I'm 0.0 drafting Zeke, and I'm not like drafting Rico Dowdle a lot, but I'm betting on the unknown outcome where I feel like I know every Zeke outcome and they're all shitty. And like I'm betting on the unknown outcomes with Rico Dowdle. Even if it comes to nothing in the end, which it still very well might, I still just cannot shake the feeling that the Cowboys backfield touch leader is not on the team.
He's not on the
now.
roster.
Yeah.
Everyone can shake that feeling. That's why both of their starting running backs are going outside the top 120.
It's true. That is
because I mean, Cowboys running back, if you were to like build a model that would project, you know, expected fantasy points for the league average running back across all rosters, Cowboys have to be top 5, right? Like really high scoring offense.
Led the NFL in points last season, and their second skill position player does not go until Jake Ferguson, and their running back doesn't go till running back 38.
Here's a way to think about
might be pointing to Cowboys' offensive collapse. I have been worried about this.
Yeah, people are pretty woke to this, I think.
Yeah.
Well, the offensive line is still rated pretty well, and Dak's still Dak. So I guess I'm skeptical of a total offensive collapse. Like
isn't the offensive line of like no depth? Like if they stay pretty healthy, I think the offensive line is fine. But
I'm not sure how deep it is.
There's some depth issues with the Cowboys off, and like some injury concerns. But
here's a way to think about this running back thing. Let's say that we get a running back to sign here that is essentially a weak incumbent starter, right? We're talking about like Miles Sanders. We were betting against Miles Sanders last year as a weak incumbent starter. He'd be an even weaker incumbent starter. Let's grant him that he's the starter. Okay. Zeke and Dowdle as the RB2 would be worth the current prices that they have. Now, you would need to be right about which one is the RB2, because the other one would be a really overpriced RB3. But like you're getting, even if someone comes and becomes the one here, I think one of these two guys, Zeke or Dowdle, would still be worth their current price. So that's where I'm just like, we are pricing in way too much fear.
I've been with you, Crane, on this for so long. Like Dowdle's price was like in the 180s before the NFL draft because everyone was saying, oh, they're going to draft someone. They're going to draft someone. And I was saying, okay, even if they do, Rico Dowdle as the handcuff in like the 180s or 190s, like it doesn't seem like I'm making the worst bet in the world there. And I just think there's just no belief in this guy that didn't record an NFL touch until what, year 3 or year 4 of his career. Like people just are giving this guy absolutely nothing. And I don't really understand it. He's, I think, my highest owned running back, just purely betting on the situation. I don't really have any real takes on if he's like that good of a player. The situation is just too good for me to ignore.
I'll say the addition, if you're a Rico guy, you want the addition to be a free agent and not a trade. You want the addition to be a free agent and not a trade. By the way, I couldn't remember. It's like Tyler Guyton was a very divisive first round pick. It looks like though he's been amazing this
looks like that was the name I was trying to recall. Was all the offensive line nerds are saying he's incredible.
If Tyler Guyton's incredible, the Cowboys' offensive collapse is not going to happen. Man, how is Brandon Cooks the number 2? I don't know.
Well,
how did this happen?
Crane, are you or not Crane, Pat? Are you woke to the Jalen Tolbert offseason? I've been doing
a little bit. I'm woke to everyone else being woke to it.
Yeah, everyone else is way too woke. We need a conservative backlash on Jalen Tolbert.
Did you read this Cowboys.com story about him?
No, I have not somehow.
So
it sounds like I don't want to. I don't want to be
woke.
To
I'm about to ruin your day. Basically, he spent the entirety of the offseason. He lives in the same neighborhood as Dak Prescott, and apparently every day this summer they would wake up, have breakfast, and then just run routes in Dak's literal backyard. And what Dak said was that every year in my career, I picked one guy to work out with. Last year, it was CeeDee Lamb. The year before, it was Dalton Schultz, before Dalton Schultz's career year. And basically, he was like, I don't think he's going to have CeeDee's season, but he could. Like, he was basically just like, you should be woke to Jalen Tolbert.
What you just described real quick before package, you just described Brandon Cook's surprise cut season.
No, I think what you described is Dallas Cowboys' total offensive collapse. That's just like that.
I'd like to argue against that because I've seen a lot of this in the YouTube comments and stuff. And what I would like to say against that is this is just total Dak Prescott erasure. Like it's everyone being like Dak always sucks in the playoffs, so it means he's bad.
Right.
Dak is like the 8th best quarterback. He's like the 8th best quarterback in the NFL. Like we can stop with the Cowboys maybe aren't going to lead the NFL in points. Maybe they're 9th in the NFL in points. They're not going. It's not going to be collapse. It's not going to be they go to 0.
I agree. No, I agree. I've had a really hard time getting on board with the Tolbert stuff of like guy who's never been good. Has breakfast with Dak. That's definitely worth something, but like I don't know if it's worth like him jumping 4 rounds in ADP. And like you still got Turpin there. There's like some of these young guys that could get more work over the course of the season. Flournoy had a like weirdly positive quote from McCarthy the other day.
Dude, Flournoy was. You want to talk about being woke? He had a very good third quarter in the preseason game with Lance against. He had like 6 catches on a drive and like a very good route and touchdown. Like. I was kind of impressed.
I kept him over DeMarcus Robinson, if you're wondering.
You know
That's
ball.
Smart. You know ball.
Yeah, you know ball.
Yeah.
There we go. It's settled.
It's settled. All right. We had to get to this topic today. Rotopat, he called it last year. Cooper Kupp did hit the target cliff. Now the question is, can he climb back up from that target cliff?
When does the target cliff fade? It's just your career? You're done?
Yeah,
it's over. It's like the running back thing. You never get your legs back.
Well,
it's over. Okay, that's too bad. Yeah, but do you have any real takes on Cooper Kupp?
What is the target cliff? How many targets?
150. Well, 150 after a certain age. So if you go back,
I'm just going to go see who else that we need to avoid.
You go back 150, it's really over. Like you can maybe do that. You can do it maybe twice if you're lucky. And my take on Kupp is that I am out, and like he is not. We're going to use a line I've used a few times. like he didn't exactly become the next Michael Thomas because he has at least played amidst the injuries the past 2 years. Like really disturbed by the cratering efficiency. Only 34th at 1.77 yards per route run last season. And like this, like it wouldn't be like the most insane thing to turn back the clock, I guess, at age 31, but it would not be the most likely outcome. And I guess the positive case is Puka has injury uncertainty of his own. Like Puka has a really long injury history, and there's a chance the Puka was like a rare first year career year type of guy. I probably don't believe that, but I don't think it's a deep skill core despite the DeMarcus Robinson bros. But I just think the injuries have really, really taken a toll on Cooper Kupp. Like the declining efficiency, I can't shake. Like the injury issues, I just can't shake. And again, he's at least gotten on the field, unlike Michael Thomas. But I just don't know how Cooper Kupp throws like basically like the decline car into reverse at this point. He just seems like he's in decline to me. And it'd be a huge deal if he played all 17 games. I guess he's top 20 no matter what if he plays all 17 games. But I just don't know why you would expect Cooper Kupp to play 17 games at this point. Is my very not scientific take.
But he's had a totally healthy offseason. Like it's not like he's coming in off of a big injury.
Maybe he knows how to manage it during the offseason now. I would hope so after being like, in the NFL for 7 or 8 years. But like once like the regular season starts, like what's going to stop this guy from getting hurt?
Kupp was also like, beloved, hard worker, kind of like as far as a guy kind of doing the right things, taking care of his body, like being prepared with a full off season. He's not recovering from anything now.
Just you go from like a literal all-time top 3 or 4 receiver season to somehow 1.77 yards per route run in 2 years. Like I don't know.
Yeah, he's playing through a couple different injuries over the course of the year.
Well, the guys don't get healthier at age 31 though. It's kind of what I'm saying. Even if he is ostensibly healthy right now, where in that he's not battling like a current injury, like all that, the accumulation is very real. And I just don't.
And some of it's hamstring stuff, which is obviously recurring. It can be recurring. So I hear you there.
I don't know. He's always been kind of a peaks and valleys guy, though, too. And maybe he's got one more.
I honestly will not stand for this. But the target cliff, it's one of the greatest bits of all time. But
it wasn't a bit.
where I stand,
I'm just looking at the target clip and like just buckets of receivers who've hit it. 150 is way too low. You're gonna need to set up. Garrett Wilson has hit this target clip. Like we need a higher clip.
170.
All right, still a lot of guys. Still a lot of guys. Here's a test. Devontae
Hey,
Adams
Garrett Wilson's already hitting the target clip last year, man.
Garrett Wilson's hit the clip.
If Cooper Kupp was 32 or 33, or if he had not literally like missed, like gone on IR and not come back and then immediately changed Puka Nakua's targets per route run, yards per route run stats, I'd be more in on this. I think it's kind of the Keenan Allen argument, except that Kupp was way better to begin with. Like Kupp at his peak had the most PPR points any player's ever had in a season, more than Calvin Johnson, more than Randy Moss.
But
like,
isn't it like
he's 32 and he's had
isn't it the ultimate
yard seasons? Like he's just. I just don't. This is not a guy I see like turning back the clock.
I just think that looking at like a player's peak season and then treating that as their ceiling outcome 2 years later is just like I don't know. I feel like we always rag on people for doing that.
This is Sam Sherman logic, though. You're not drafting him there. He's the wide receiver 19.
Yeah. The other thing,
these are the guys he's going ahead of now. He's going ahead of Malik Neighbors, Brandon Ayuk, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. Like
I couldn't wind horse any harder right now.
So last season is doing a lot of work here with this argument because the thing is like, do we not care that the season after he hit the target cliff, the season where he was ineffective now because his legs are gone because he hit the target cliff the year before, he had 22.6 PPR points per game. That doesn't matter. I think that matters, guys. He was still really good. He was still really
irreversible.
But that's still 2 years ago. And he played what, like 6 games that season?
Yeah, you think he played 9 games?
It was 9.
Yeah.
They can't reverse it. They tried.
9 games is not nothing.
It's a medical condition.
They looked into it.
It's an irreversible decline. To be honest, I wasn't factoring in enough that he's an irreversible decline. That's true.
I will. The only thing I will seriously say about the yards per out run, it's been like over half a yard each the past 2 years.
But Pat, he was at 3.12.
I know.
Just your baseline expectation would be regression. Like not based on talent, not based on falling off or age or anything. Just based on it is extremely difficult to keep that up.
It'd be one thing if he was just like normal, like age regressing. He's also injury regressing. I don't think like you don't get that back. What he lost with those injuries, I think. Like I just think you don't get that back.
I think he could get back to 2.4, which is where he was the year
that
ago.
Would be really high for late end stage Cooper Kupp. I wanted to be really high. For a guy, he's already said it's his last season.
Okay,
2.4 would be really high. 2.4 would be
that might be bullish though. If he did say it was his last season, the retirement tour. He just leaves it all out there.
Yeah.
Like basically him and Stafford are saying this is it. This is a real Expendables thing. Like one last job.
Yeah. David Ortiz.
It's a good moment to hit an hour 30 into the show. Is that Cooper Kupp retiring would actually be bullish?
Nothing anyone could say. It's the same thing with Devontae Adams. Like they could have a broomstick playing quarterback, and I'd be like, I'm not playing that. Like I just am taking these.
Hang on. I do want to just note that Devontae Adams, he hit 168 targets in 2022. Thankfully, coming just under the target cliff. So
just under the cliff.
He was good. Now last year, great season, but I hate to report this: 171 targets over the cliff. He's done now. He's done.
That was a real Jerry Seinfeld ass voice, Kirk.
It was.
I mean, listen to Kyle.
He's over the cliff.
He's over the cliff.
He's over the cliff. I tell you.
Those 2 extra targets. You just had to give him those 2 extra targets in week 18, huh? And get him over.
It's brutal, man. It's brutal. I don't know. Was it worth it? Was it worth it to take him over the cliff? I don't think so. I don't think it was.
No,
Come on.
It was not. Anyway, Cooper Kupp sucks.
Yeah, he's terrible. All right, moving on. Moving on to the fallers at the hour 30 mark. MarShawn Lloyd's down 18 spots to pick 164. This is obviously due to injury. I think some concerns that AJ Dillon might have been ahead of him even pre-injury. Start with you, Davis. Is MarShawn Lloyd still in your player pool with all this uncertainty around his situation?
Well, famously, I took Ricky Pearsall over him in our main event like 4 days ago, and I said it's sick because we're going to cut either one of them after week 1, so at least we'll be cutting a wide receiver instead of running back. Honestly, I moved him way down in my rankings for combo reasons. I think he's now firmly in the so it's like the argument that obviously a bag defender would make was Devin A-Chain was a healthy scratch week 1. He had one carry for 4 yards in week 2. I mean, I think Lloyd is like far outside that type of player. The other thing would be he was not exactly lighting up training camp before. It was the coaches were like, he can't stop fumbling. He is missing these pass blocks. It's like he played 6 snaps on family night. Famously, the same number as Dontavian Wicks. I would rather take Braelon Allen. I would rather take Bucky Irving. I would rather take Ray Davis. I would rather take Jaleel McLaughlin. I'd rather take Jaleel Wright. So every time I'm in a position to select MarShawn Lloyd, I have a player ranked higher than him, and there's enough. Now, I'm not trying to be too week 1 brained. I think there's still a very clear range of outcomes for him. You're making a very clear bet. It's just that the waters are so muddied now, and I don't even have to have week 1 brain with Braelon Allen. I'm like, no, Braelon Allen is already what I want MarShawn Lloyd to be. He's already the running back. He's already the running back. Ray Davis is already the running back too. I don't have to. There's no projection. It already happened.
Yeah, Ray Davis is honestly a really good comp because or a comparison because part of the appeal with MarShawn Lloyd is that he's not Braelon Allen. He's going to have a role. He's going to be a part of a committee. So he's more in the Ty Chandler mold where there's going to be some spike weeks that we're going to get. He's going to score some touchdowns. He's going to hit your lineup occasionally in the early part of the season. And then he also has a lot of contingent value. But I have Ray Davis way ahead of him now because Ray Davis looks like he's taken over for Ty Johnson as the running back too, or is in the process of doing that and has, gotten pretty good reports. Lloyd, I don't know. I mean, he could be the running back 2 or, like a rotational guy over the course of the year, but the odds seem to have gone down. I still think I'd rather have him than like Bucky Irving, but I took on Antonio Gibson over him today.
That seems bad.
That's pretty bearish.
For his outlook.
No, I mean, it's bad for Lloyd, but Gibson, I'm just saying, dude, if the May thing happens.
Crane was just doing that to set up a Drake May 18th round pick.
Well, no, there's been a little bit of, there's already, Sam, have you heard this chatter that Gibson might be the better stylistic fit for this Alex Van Pelt offense than Ramondre?
Sorry, Andy just roasted me. Does Karain know that comp is short for comparison?
This is crazy. This is crazy, but I Googled it and it's true. Antonio Gibson is younger than Ramondre.
Wow.
That's bleak. That's real bleak.
Yeah. With Lloyd, I think that – so the thing I'm trying to figure out with Lloyd, is it good for him or bad for him that A.J. Dillon in a very similar situation was redshirted as a rookie? Because his competition is now A.J. Dillon.
The analog, by the way, was week 16 then. What is week 17 now? A.J. Dillon had, I believe, the 4th highest scoring game any running back had the entire season that week against the Titans. So don't draw the comparison.
There's the snow game, It's like
was that not a game where they're resting all their starters?
I don't remember. I honestly, it's been so long. I've lost the context to what happened.
Oh,
I just remember it snowed.
Yeah,
I do remember it snowed. I remember he looked really good in that game. But anyways, I was just trying to figure out, like, we do have a precedent of LaFleur just completely icing a day 2 rookie running back. Maybe his system is more complex to pick up. I don't know what it is. I still think, like, you can't say that that's that bad for Lloyd because Dillon was the
Dylan's
one.
there. He's there.
Dylan
now.
was the one who was bad enough to not play, and
Right.
he's his competition. So it kind of has twisted my brain into a circle.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a hot take at 164 ADP. This seems like the
fine.
right reaction.
Lloyd's
but
the problem with Lloyd is like his career ceiling kind of seems like committee member, like the lightning member of a committee. And this, like, the fact that he's like not living up to like we just want you to be a bit player, man. We just want you to be a role player. And the fact that he's like struggling to be a role player.
Well, to the red shirt thing, I mean, his like prospect profile definitely gave me some Ronald Jones vibes. Like, he's explosive, not that reliable though. And Ronald Jones, really the reason I got so in on Ronald Jones is that he got completely redshirted. Like, as redshirted as a guy ever has in the second round. And then he was written off, and basically it was like he's complete dust. No one can ever draft him. And that's when I got Ronald Jones built. But I could see the same thing happening to Lloyd, honestly. Like, it is possible. It's a risk. It's just that, man, I would be still a bit surprised, though, given it's A.J. Dillon, and we know this team likes to use a committee. So, like, Lloyd really has to be bad, I think, for this not to work out. And that's kind of where I'd go to, like, barely being right idea of, like, what has to happen for this player not to get a shot at some point this season is that he has to be bad. Like, I think Lloyd's like mediocre. He still probably gets on the field at some point. So I am interested in mixing him in still at the reduced price.
I am as well. Let's move on here to another rookie running back, Kimani Vidal. He is
This is unjovered, though. Yeah, he's going to be on the risers next week.
Yeah, speaking of unjovered, I already have the graphic ready for that one, Davis. He's definitely going to be back next week.
Never been
Yeah, it was so Jover, and then it got Barack really quick after.
He got Barack on like 3 runs where it's just like, obviously.
Yeah. Like, you know why? Because that's what it takes. We need 3 good runs in this backfield. Like, it's dire.
Yeah.
At no point should you ever be behind Jared Patterson if it's not Jover.
No, people forget Jared Patterson was like kind of.
I know that.
He was kind of an interesting prospect.
He was like the smallest guy in the history of the NFL, and it just didn't work. And it doesn't matter even if you immediately.
Have you heard of Deuce Vaughn, Pat?
Believe me.
Watching Deuce Vaughn try and pass block for Trey Lance was like, it's like, this is. I probably wanted this at some point in my life. Like, probably at some point in my life, I was like, that's the platonic ideal of an NFL team, and I saw it happen in a real game, and I was like, maybe coaches do know more than me.
No, it doesn't matter if you jump Jared Patterson literally the following day. If you fall behind Jared Patterson in 2024 for even one day, it's Jover, and you'll never be.
Here's
Brock.
the thing: he never was. This was just Daniel.
What about Isaiah Spiller? Can you fall behind Isaiah Spiller for one day?
No, you can't.
You can't. No, absolutely not.
It's even more Jover.
It is.
Yeah,
it's Jover.
I moved him. I moved him back up my rankings. I'm drafting Vidal again.
I don't understand why he would be behind, like the failure of imagination from the Chargers coaching staff. It's like
he's banged up, right? He's banged up day 3 guy. You know,
that's true.
They're like, can we count on this guy? Like,
that's fair.
Jared Patterson does he's like one of these guys where like you throw him out there, he's not gonna, he could probably pass protect for Trey Lance too.
I don't know.
Deuce Vaughn, man. I did keep him. I could have cut him. I'm keeping him like a few more weeks.
You know who's going to be it?
I think I might have kept Robinson over him.
Probably would have kept DeMarcus Robinson over
Deuce Vaughn. I have so many receivers.
Yeah. Did you not watch this game on Saturday night? Probably not. You were probably with your loved ones or something.
I was,
but I mean, Deuce Vaughn, he is like literally, if he was 5'10", he would be Saquon Barkley. I mean, it's unbelievable.
If he was 5'8", he would be Saquon Barkley.
He just can.
You guys realize you're wishing that Deuce Vaughn was as big as Greg Dortch. That's if only he was as big as Greg Dortch, he'd be a star.
He's so small. Like it would literally be like me trying to play in an NFL game. Like it's unbelievable how small he is. It's crazy. DJ Shark did just get injured at practice, so I hope that you guys are ready for Brendan Rice on the Razors next week.
I was already pretty in on Brendan Rice over the last couple of days with giving us preseason usage. Pretty intriguing.
That was interesting.
Pat, has any player ever run the Jover sprint faster than Quentin Johnston? Like, can you name, you've been doing NFL for a long time. Can you name one guy who has speed ran Jover faster?
No, but he might be Barack.
No,
he's climbing again. He's been climbing again, and I know. I wanted him really bad to be so Barack.
Did you see the highlight? The preseason highlight of him jumping like 10 yards into the air. It wasn't a catch, but do you know what I'm talking about? That was insane.
Yeah, no one ever said he couldn't jump. We already knew that.
His first preseason target was an immediate drop. Immediately, like
I did see that. I did see that one.
I realize the issue is that he has to be facing the quarterback to catch the ball. Like it's got to be like you're playing catch in the backyard. If he does that, what NFL route calls for that? Like almost none, right?
There's
a few routes.
There's usually 4 or 5 yards.
If you're running,
comeback hook,
I guess if you're running hooks, how many? It feels.
Sit down, find a soft spot in the zone. You watch Travis Kelce. That's like half his game.
That's true. He's the next Travis Kelce.
That is the best that we can hope for from
the screen.
QJ.
The screen kind of requires.
I guess he could run a lot of screens. He could run a lot of screens, or just like all 7-yard crossers.
I think so, depending. Some option routes call for that.
I mean, I'm telling you, dude, his shoulders have to be like square to the quarterback. Like it's so bad.
That's terrible. All right, let's move on here to the Rogers and Fallers.
It looks like a hip flexor, by the way, for Shark. So maybe not to the moon for Rice. Yeah.
Oh. It could be. I mean, hip flexors
I'm ready to call it. I'm ready. This is like I'm the judge in Maricopa County. I'm ready to call it. I'm ruling in favor of Brendan Rice.
Listen, they're just hiding Quentin Johnston, by the way. They're just hiding him for week 1. Jim Harbaugh has never unseen the national semifinal performance that he had.
That's true.
It's if that game never happened, I would have not taken Quentin Johnston once the whole offseason. But just knowing that was in the back of mine for
the Chargers wouldn't have taken him once in the first round.
No, that's also true.
Sorry, Sam. I'm stepping on you.
No, you're good. Let's get to Rogers or the CLV closing line value risers game. I'll kick it to Pat first to give his pick as the guest.
I was trying to think of like who's the dumbest riser I could think of.
I've got a pretty dumb one. You're not going to be able to beat the dumbness of mine.
No, I know. And in this group, no, like mine will be by far the least dumb. But
thanks, man.
I've already, I can see, we mentioned the mind's eye, and my mind's eye, the Dylan Laub season is all the way back on because it's never been more over. It's never been more over for Zamir White. It's truly never been more over for anyone than it is for Alexander Madison. And I think Dylan Laub, as the Zamir White justified slander continues.
Okay, can I FUD this real quick?
Yes, please.
First off, the reason why Zamir White played in the second half was because they wanted him to play with AOC again. Still not great.
No,
it's still not great.
It's the classic, like, there's excuses for it, but you don't need these excuses if you're not Zamir
But
White.
I actually need to FUD my close personal friend Dylan Laube, which is that first off, he is my friend. And I'm really rooting for him. Like literally, I'm at the bar watching this Raiders game, and I was telling my wife, I was like, "This is my friend. Like he's on the field right now. Like I know him." And the first thing he does is immediately gets AOC blown up. Like he like whips on just immediately gets AOC blown up. And he did it in the first preseason game too. He read the block the wrong way and went to the outside of the tackle instead of inside.
He learned his lesson.
I don't think he did.
The reason I picked Laube as a riser is just because you didn't need to give people a reason to doubt Zamir White.
That's true.
Now they have the reason. And I'm not saying it's right. Zamir White was the classic, like, give me one reason to doubt Zamir White, and I will do it.
Here's a Galbrain take.
All right.
The Raiders running back that you want, Samaje Perine.
There we go.
That's where he's
a good
going.
one.
Miles
I picked him as a
Sanders
riser a couple weeks ago, I think. So that works out.
You did, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
All right.
Roster cuts are next Tuesday, so then he's going right up.
Davis, you have a riser?
Yeah, it's J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, I predict by the time Best Ball Mania closes, will have flipped Gus Edwards entirely.
Whoa.
I'm surprised he hasn't already, to be honest.
It's because it's this ADP anchoring effect where we've all been drafting since fucking February, and we're just like, I can't take J.K. Dobbins in the 10th round because I took him in the 16th round in the little board 2 returns, but it's pretty clear what the Chargers' plan is. J.K. Dobbins is a starting running back until one of his legs gives out. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it feels like I'm taking crazy pills because I just thought the whole time he was just not going to be healthy. Like I thought he was on the Chubb pattern where it's like they were just going to be on PUP and we were never going to see him.
I don't know how it's not the case.
He's just there.
He's just been there since literally day one. He's been
literally day one.
He's been totally fine.
Did he actually get hurt?
I know it is insane. He's just been totally fine.
Yeah. J.K. Dobbins is my riser.
All right, Crane.
Have I taken Drake May yet?
No, I don't think
There's no way to know, honestly.
there is.
I'll take Drake May if I assuming I haven't taken him. I'll go ahead and take Drake May because look, guys, Jacoby Brissett has apparently been horrendous all summer. They can't stand it. They can't protect him. They can't protect anybody. But it's a little easier to protect a mobile quarterback, a guy you can call designed runs for. You can build that into the
or a guy who just at least throws the ball eventually. And just
throws the ball eventually. He's willing to just like sling it, see what happens. That's, I think, going to be appealing enough to get him on the field pretty soon. I still think Brissett starts week 1, but this is why I'm taking him as the CLV guy because like if Brissett loses this job, which is possible, then Drake May is going to be a big old riser. Week 1 starter Drake May. I mean, we're talking about him, jumping like 6-7 rounds in price.
How is Greg Dortch still only the wide receiver 79, by the way? I
mean, he should be like the wide receiver 47, but
I'm just shocked that he's not, to be honest. He hasn't already been totally sicko pilled and like the wide receiver 58 at least. I should have said Greg Dortch because there's going to be more Greg Dortch gifts where that came from. You better believe it, brother.
The chat's mad that I picked May because I've talked about him. But guess what? He's having a good preseason now.
I'm taking him in the 15th round now, just for like the optionality.
What do you mean the optionality?
So like if you take him,
So you just don't
then
get sniped?
you can decide. Well, you can decide: do I want
Oh.
Gibson? Do I want Henry? Do I want to take Osborne and Bourne? Do I want to take Baker and Bourne? Like you just have more because I'm in all these slow drafts right now. So I just like having, and I'm like, well, what if I don't get him? That seems bad. So I just want to get him.
If I already took May, give me the better of the 2 ADP prices. That's what I'm asking for.
You're gonna have to take both. I'm sorry.
All right, fine.
I'll take this is one I don't really want to happen, but I think probably will. Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel's week to week with this toe injury.
This is the best one.
Yeah, MVS is out for several weeks, I think. The Keon Coleman preseason film takes have not been very kind. So basically, like, all these other wide receivers are losing in Buffalo, and I think Shakir is going to be the guy that people feel comfortable with. The Josh Allen drafter is probably going to reach a round or two on him in the next couple weeks to make sure they get him. So, yeah, I haven't taken a lot of Shakir, but I think he just rises with this news.
That's way too sensible.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, I almost said
it's kind of a bummer, actually.
I almost said Tank Bigsby, but I realized that would have been way worse. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Pat, for joining us. Why don't you tell the people about what's going on at Roto World?
Drafts so plenty. We've been doing lots of mock drafts, getting ready for our draft day marathon on Thursday, August 21st. I have an article up on fateful ADPs, though I hate the name of the article. I'm putting out this week, hopefully an article. Right, I'm just trying to rank the offensive environments. I did the same thing last summer. I'm ranking the offensive environments, kind of like for tie-breaking purposes. This is, of course, this isn't for people who have been drafting for 9 months. If people logging back on, like, listen, you're on the clock, you need a tiebreaker. I'm ranking the offensive environments. It does include a dark horse for each team. Really, really praying that comes out this week. I need to finish it very badly. And then, of course, the Roto Football Show, where we are recording all the time. Many special guests, Andy Behrens, this Thursday from Yahoo.
Awesome. Crane,
hopefully back Crane.
Yeah, always. Legendary Upside. We've got a bunch of content that came out last week. We've got and the week before that. I'm working on a rookie wide receivers piece that'll be out this week. I'm working on my legendary running back scenarios, which will be out soon as well. Sidekick, if you're looking for dynamic rankings to help you in your final drafts, especially if you're trying to like multi-enter in whether it's slow drafts or fast drafts in the puppy. Very helpful. legendaryupside.com/sidekick. And dynasty rankings updated every week. Best ball rankings updated every day. Check it out.
Awesome. Davis, I saw you came out with some ranks today. Is that right? Or at least
I did my redraft here. So everyone who's doing their home leagues and their high stakes stuff, I just was like, no more of this. We know these boomer sites don't let you upload your CSV. So I just did the full, like, these are where to take guys and avoid the bad picks thing. And then I'm going to try and stream every day until the season starts. I did a big dog this morning with Herzig, where Herzig just happened to be in the draft. So I was like, you just want to hop in and we can draft against each other. And I got sniped on Xavier Worthy. Just felt like getting shot. So I got that going on.
Did we get the clip? Do we have the clip of you of the many men? I think we did get that one, didn't we?
We did. We need to get that. We need to tell Zach to get the mini men.
Yeah, we need the
clip going. And then I'm streaming tomorrow, 12 to 4. Actually, Sam or Pat, if either of you guys want an hour, it's yours. I got Draft Cheat and Daigle coming on. I got 2 more hours to fill after that.
I would love to, but I am streaming essentially all day as we continue to bank content for the Roto World Draft Day Marathon on Thursday, August 21st.
You got to bank the content.
Yes, we do. Banking so much content.
So much content. Well, everyone find all that great content from Crane, Pat, and Davis. I will be back next week here on ADP Chasing. Don't think we have a guest next week, but it might just be the 3 of us. But anyways, thanks to everyone for joining us in the chat. Thanks to Pat. We'll see you guys next week.